Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today for another episode of The Wendy Cooper Show, Conversations with Remarkable People. Today, my guest is Michael Gorton. He is the CEO of Back to Space. He is also a 13-time entrepreneur, founder of Teladoc. He has written 2 books, one on history and the other on entrepreneurship, that are both on Amazon. And he has a new innovative glucose meter that he wants to tell us about today that is non-invasive. That means no pricking of the skin whatsoever. He is a super, super nice guy. I'm sure you're going to love everything he has to say. So without further ado, let's welcome Michael to the show.
Thank you, Wendy. It's a pleasure to be here.
We had talked in the past about how passion is kind of lost these days, it seems like younger generations don't really have the passion we had.
You know, for clarity, if you ask somebody young, they'll tell you they have passion. And then they'll go play their video games with great passion. And so, you know, they have these little worlds that don't touch our real world. And, you know, they go hack up things or shoot things or build things. And they probably do it with real passion, but they don't do it like you and I did. And, you know, I don't want to make this an older generation, younger generation thing, because I think the Gen Z, these kids that are in high school right now, they have what we had. They're starting, they're watching Elon Musk and they're dreaming big. And so now, you know, we need to figure out how to get the millennials up to speed. We need to figure out how to get our generation staying engaged. And then we all need to figure out, okay, how can we get these really young high school kids taking that passion and turning it not into Minecraft, but into changing the world, curing cancer, getting to Mars, you know, writing the next great concerto, you know, something really awesome.
I know what you're talking about with that sense of passion. When I grew up in Los Angeles, I grew up in the San Fernando Valley. And when I was, I think, 12, 13, and 14, during the summer, my parents sent me away to summer camp, sleepover camp for weeks, which I loved, by the way. It's the only way that I actually got to learn how to like go in a canoe and do all of these things and see the stars at night. So one night in 1969, I think I was 14, we were singing Kumbaya. We were in the middle of the campfire after dinner, and there was probably 50 of us, right? And we were all singing Kumbaya, literally singing Kumbaya. And someone came out from, you know, the clubhouse kind of, and just telling us all about, we just landed on the moon. We just landed on the moon. Everyone, look up. There's a man on the moon, right? And it was such a beautiful feeling of, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I guess that's inspiration, you know?
In the next 3 years are going to be back at the moon. This is what's, I think, pretty extraordinary. That mission was called Apollo. The next one is Artemis, which is really more about women. And so inspiring the next generation of women as they see that first female astronaut step out onto the moon. That's going to happen in 2024.
Well, I think that that's super cool. And that's not something that we hear about at all. Right? So I think on backtospace.com, there's so much information about the program, about what the world's largest lunar map that you're going to tell us about, I'm sure, and everything that is being done to bring entertainment back into space, or space into entertainment, so that young people do enjoy it. Anyway, backtospace.com is so inspirational, and I just loved it. That's all I know how to say.
I think it'll inspire a lot of things. Remember, David Bowie wrote some really great space songs back when we were flying Apollo missions. So I expect to see some great music, happening as those next missions are going to the moon. Some great art, some photography, and of course, science and engineering. This time when we go, we're going to have a permanent space station orbiting around the moon, and we're going to put a permanent base down on the moon. So in 50 years, there's going to be children born and growing up on the moon.
Well, that brings us to, you know what, Michael? It's about that big, gigantic map of the moon. So you have to tell everyone about that. And also, please include how the inspiration and the passion where that came from.
Build the largest map on the planet in Jacksboro, Texas, which is a small town north of Fort Worth. And it will be a map of the moon. So people can go on this giant map that you can walk on and walk on the moon. Or, if they want to, they could get married there and have their honeymoon there,
That sounds like a trip. That's so cool. It's like a new destination.
we can have concerts there, and so people will come visit our giant lunar landscape in Jacksboro, and they'll walk away with the T-shirt that said, "I walked on the moon." So it's going to be a lot of fun.
So whose brainchild was this anyway?
It's really two people. One person who lives really close to you, named Danielle Russo. Her grandfather went to the moon in Apollo 14. And so she's the one who got us all started on this project. But, there's another engineer and me here in Texas that are working on making sure this lunar landscape gets built properly. Well, let's give Danielle Russo the kudos for coming up with the idea.
Yeah, I actually did go to the website and I saw that Danielle is super involved, very passionate. She's in all of the videos, which, by the way, some are just hysterical. She is awesome. And it's really supported by a lot of major companies, kind of like NASA. So what's it called again?
Lunar Landscape Experience, or I guess internally we say LLE. 25,500 square feet is the one we're going to build in Jacksboro. So it starts with a giant concrete slab. So, and we decided in the beginning, we thought, okay, let's do a contour map, that has, bumps for the mountains and all. But so in the beginning, we thought we would make what's called a 3D relief map. But then we thought, if somebody trips on it, we don't want to get sued. We don't want anybody tripping over the tallest mountain on the moon. So we decided to make it flat. So you start with a giant concrete slab, and then you have to paint it. And okay, so how do you paint something that big? I don't know, it's never been done. First we said, let's bring a bunch of college students in, give them each a little quadrant and have them paint it. Then it looked kind of splotchy. And so then we said, well, let's invent a brand new kind of printer. And so that's what we're in the process of doing right now. Is inventing, and you want to talk about smart young kids. There are 4 or 5 kids that are working on this every single day, and the youngest one is 15, and the oldest one is 20. So we're about to invent something that's never been done before, and it's going to be mostly teenagers doing it. So that's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is extraordinary. What I really liked is if you go to backtospace.com, you can see the depiction of what the lunar landing experience is going to be. It's just gorgeous. I I will be waiting in line to be there. I mean, seriously, the rendering really gives you a visual of what it's going to take in order to execute this. So where are you at on that?
They expect to have prototype done Labor Day. So what is that? 2 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now? Yeah, working pretty diligently on it. We plan to pour the concrete slab this fall. We'll paint it within 60 days of when we'll pour it. And our roving printer will drive all over the moon and paint the image of it on the concrete slab. But that's just the beginning. We're going to have augmented reality and virtual reality, so you can walk on the concrete slab to the place where the Tranquility Base, where they landed, and use your smartphone and see the footprints and the flag, and you can walk around, and if you want, you can get a selfie with Neil or Buzz. So we're going to have all kinds of great software that's sort of integrated into the moon. In the evenings, we'll have little tiny droplets of water that will spray into the air, and we'll project in 3D the actual capsules landing on the moon. And there'll be a restaurant up high so people can sit up at the restaurant and look down and watch. And some people may set up, that wedding that's going to happen on the moon. You can go up to the restaurant and watch from above, or we'll have concerts on the moon too, of course.
I just want to read for everyone what is actually on the website, and it just is a synopsis of Back to Space. It says, Back to Space is a transmedia organization that aims to inspire the current and future generations to look up and see what is possible. Our voice and content have already begun to ignite curiosity and positivity for science and technology. I just think this is beautiful. What else are you guys doing to ensure that the younger generations are more open to going back to space?
We're going to have games there because we understand that's what drives passion. And so, embedded in the game is going to be real things. And so, my expectation is that some kid is going to be out there standing on the surface of that moon, and they're going to get inspired. Not just one kid, but probably dozens or hundreds or maybe thousands of kids. And we expect them to change the world. So our job is to make things so much fun that they want to come back, but it inspires them to do something really.
Really cool. I mean, this is like multiple generations in a family that can go someplace, go to a destination, and there can be something there for everyone. What a great learning experience. So I'm curious, are you looking for people to get involved? Where do you stand with that?
So the thing that I know is I'm not smart enough to do it by myself. If I can't find smarter people to surround myself with and listen to them, I am not going to succeed. So if you know somebody, or there's somebody in your audience who wants to play in any form, creativity, funding, great ideas, I'm all ears.
How do they get a hold of you? Where's the best place?
LinkedIn is always the fastest way. That's how you and I met, right?
Yeah, we
LinkedIn.
did. We did.
Flavor and LinkedIn is a great tool for starting conversations. So that's a good place to go.
I'm sure they can also go to backtospace.com, read more about the program, see who's involved, and then get in contact with you through there. I believe there's all the social links and all of the information that anybody needs to contact you on that project. Now, what else have you got going on? Because I know I read on LinkedIn where it totally outlines, by the way, everything that you've got up your innovative sleeve, that you have something that is to do with glucose monitoring for diabetics, and it sounds actually extremely innovative. So tell us about that, would you please?
A device company that has developed a non-invasive blood glucose meter. So I think that's really cool because everybody who has diabetes pricks their finger 6 times a day, and what they get is a reading at that instant in time. So they don't know if their blood sugar is going up or going down. And if they want to find out, they have to wait a few minutes and prick it again. And so what we are designing is a little device that's about this big.
Ooh, that's really
that
small.
clips on the ear,
That's cool.
and it talks to your smartphone.
Uh-huh.
It uses optics, so it doesn't touch blood at all. It shines a light through your ear, and there's properties in the blood that change. And it's really, really, really hard to read it. And so what our engineers have done is they figured out how to solve the really, really, really hard.
Is that because it clips onto the ear and the skin it's very thin there?
Yeah. So, what's a good place on, where you can clip something on and it can stay on. And so, I mean, this is this is sort of a, an image that I use to show, but I mean, you could put jewelry on this so it looked like an earring or something, and you could wear it. And so it just gives you continuous reading. As adults, people dealing with diabetes, they want to understand. But a much more critical segment is parents whose children, so they want to know when my child is asleep, what's happening when my child is at school, what's happening. And so the device can talk back through the network to mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's the comfort for the parent. And I know I had a friend who had a child that was diabetic, and he used to have to wake him up in the middle of the night to prick his finger, I guess. And, I always thought that was so terrible. So, how far are you away from this being on the market?
All the science and lab work is done. And for that company, that one's called Socrates Health. For that company, we're trying to get somebody like Apple or Google, one of the big players to come in as a partner and build it out and push it to the masses. So, and nobody else has done this yet. There's lots of ways of reading blood sugar, but none of them have done it without touching the blood. This is the very first one. So
Well, I think that that's awesome. Everything that you're talking about is so incredible. Two different spectrums, right? Space and medicine. And so tell me a little bit, or tell, my listeners, our listeners, a little bit about the healthcare system that you have in mind and how I think you said to me we would be able to literally prevent cancer.
if you think about our current healthcare system, we call it a healthcare system, but it really isn't. We pay our money to Blue Cross or United or whoever every month. Um, in my particular family's case, it's over $2,000 a month, and my deductible is 12,000, which means I have to spend $36,000 a year before my insurance covers anything, right? And what does it cover? It covers something when I get sick. It's not a healthcare system. It is a sick care system, right? And so if we start thinking about, okay, I want to start doing physical exams so I can catch things before they become, you said cancer, what if you could have caught that cancer before it was stage 1?
Well, obviously, that would have been very nice, but that's not the case.
We have tests for almost every single cancer that we can catch before they turn stage 1. And if you can treat them before they turn stage 1, it's not going to cost very much. And that is a healthcare system. And so I'm getting ready to start building a company that truly does that, and with the goal of catching issues before they become issues. And you know how we say 60 is the new 40? What we want to do is have 120 is the new 40. Um,
I just think there's a whole host of problems with that because, 60 is the new 40 is one thing, has to do with the 20-year lifespan, longer lifespans that we're all leading now. But 120 is the new 40. That seems a little weird. That almost seems a little Benjamin Button-y to me. Is it?
if you want to live to 120, keep working. Find new things to do, another career, another path to follow.
Easier said than done, but anyway.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that if you want to do that, we're going to give you the tools to accomplish it.
I couldn't help it.
You're traveling to another dimension.
There are things that we are beginning to understand about reversing the age process. Everybody, I think, has heard of telomerase. This is the new biochemistry that can actually make you younger. And there's some thymus research these days, things that you can do to decrease your age by a few years. And so what you're going to see over the next 10 years is what we call bridges to the bridge. And so, the big bridge is the one that makes you 35 again. But the little bridge are the ones that make you at 65, feel like you're 60. But in the next 20 years or so, we're going to solve the telomerase issue, and you're going to be able to start taking a supplement that'll get your cells reproducing like they did when you were in your 20s and 30s, and you'll go backwards.
You're traveling to another dimension. A dimension
We
not
had
only
to
is-
come out of the Twilight Zone if we went into the Twilight Zone. So that sounds very interesting. Here's where I do a little break in the middle of my show, which I typically don't do, but I'm going to do today. I have set up a shop on my website, wendycooper.com, Daily 5 Shop, and I did this because I am trying to keep my podcast ad-free. Although I have been podcasting and doing this for probably 12 years, I've seen things happen, and I come from the advertising and marketing world. I've seen things happen to podcasting that, are becoming a bit bothersome, like too many ads, like it turning into AM radio or even FM radio. It is podcasts I used to love. I'm kind of like going, wow, I have to like stop, look at that tiny little button and skip over all of these ads that I just frankly don't want to hear. So the magic of podcasting, I think, has to remain somehow a little bit on the less is more side of things. That is the reason that I'm interrupting this program and letting you know that I set up the shop at the Daily 5. It is an Amazon associate shop. It is, if you buy through my shop on my website, Amazon sends me a stipend. So it's kind of a win-win for me, a win for you, and definitely a win for Amazon because they get your traffic. I get Amazon's money, and you get to support me and help me keep bringing you ad-free podcasting. I also have that on my Daily 5, my 5-minute podcast that I do that is very different than this. Yeah, the Twilight Zone was a little hint of what I do over there, and I'd love for you to listen to that. You can find it all at wendycooper.com, and you can also find what I do for a living, which is advertising and marketing and speaking and producing and doing creative, and the list goes on and on. But anyway, there you go. We're going to jump back in because I believe this guy has got a couple of books also on Amazon, and you will be able to find them on my Daily 5 shop.
2 books, one of which made it to #1 on Amazon, and the other one made the top 10. So I have a great historic fiction book called Forefathers and Founding Fathers. It's a colonial period. Love that book. And then just last year, all of the entrepreneurial years of experience, mostly getting knocked down and kicked in the teeth, and getting back up again. That's in this book called Broken Handoff, which one of the analysts last year said was the #1 M&A book of the year.
So, Michael, tell me, if there was one thing that you could advise younger people about being an entrepreneur, what would that be? Something that's a little inspirational, obviously, not so obvious because normally we all give the same advice to people wanting to be in going, work for themselves, being an entrepreneur, that you have to, nose to the grindstone, get up every day, put your feet in front of you and just keep going. But what would you have to say?
When you're building something new, there's going to be people that don't want you to succeed. And they're going to be a lot bigger than you. When I was building Teladoc, the boards of medical examiners did not want us to succeed. They told us if we build it, we're going to prison. And so, the thing is, when you finish it, after 10 years of me building Teladoc, passing it to Jason Gorvick, and now it's a $20 billion NYSE company, people go, oh, overnight success.
I know.
I would say to anybody who's going to do it, and you know this, Wendy, but you've got to be persistent. That's the #1 ingredient. You've got to be persistent, because you are going to get knocked down and kicked in the teeth. And you got to get back up with a smile. If you have a good idea, a lot of times it takes a long time for the world to get it. And Teladoc is a good example. People people didn't get it for a long time. Now it seems obvious, but
Well, talk about time. We've got to wrap up the show. I know that you want people to contact you through LinkedIn. They can go to backtospace.com also. Kind of think about how they can get involved and add something to your projects.
especially our lunar landscape project, I'd love to have lots of participation.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your exciting projects with us today.
Thank you. I very much appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. That completes another episode of The Wendy Cooper Show, Conversations with Remarkable People. You can find Michael Gorton, that is Gorton, on LinkedIn, and you can also find him, I believe, at backtospace.com. His email address, which he said he doesn't mind if I give it to you, it is mg@mgalcor.com. Well, that's about it. So keep listening, stay safe, stay healthy, and remember to check out what I've got cooking over there at the Daily 5 shop on wendycooper.com. You can also send me a voice message or an audio message. And if you'd like to suggest a topic for my Daily 5 show, you go right ahead. I hope you check them out while you're at my website supporting this podcast by shopping through my shop on wendycooper.com. Thanks for listening. This was a C-Spot Run production. Theme music was by Tom Orsi of Orsi Digital Post.